We're very nearly at the end of the course, and what I'd like to do to wrap things up is for us to go on a short expedition together and bring some of the pieces together. What I've done is taken myself to a spot where I know there's a goal not that far away. It's 1 kilometre south of here. I've used a map to do that. I've never walked across the ground we're about to do, but I've used the map to find a start point and a finish point. And it is really important, if you're going to do this for yourself, which I encourage you to do, start with very, very small distances, much shorter than 1 kilometre. And you must know exactly where you are when you start, and you must know exactly where you're trying to get to, and you must know what you have to do to cover that ground. The next thing to do is, when you're starting out, give yourself a couple of helping hands. One of them we looked at before is the handrail. So I know, because I've looked at a map before, that I've got a handrail that will tell me when I'm getting close. And in this case, it's just a footpath. It can be any of the linear features we looked at before. The more bold it is, the harder to miss, the better in a way. It can be a river, it can be a path, it can be a road. But the key thing is, when we hit it, we must know we've hit it. And we must know where it is relative to our finish point. So my goal is a triangulation pillar on top of a hill 1 kilometre south of where I am at the moment. I know that if I go a little bit west of south, I will hit a footpath that heads southeast to my goal. And that's all I'm going to try and do. And you'll be amazed when you're not using any instruments at all, no map, anything like that. 1 kilometre over ground you don't know is quite an interesting challenge. So we're going to start by using one of our favourite compasses, the sun. We've just passed the middle of the morning. We're in midsummer. I know that the sun rose well north of east, not far from northeast this morning, and I know it will go through south in the middle of the day. So I just think to myself, what time of day is it? Well, it's the middle of the morning, just a little bit past that. So the sun is probably just on the south side of southeast. And using that, I can get a sense of where south is. I now know south is in this direction. You can make it a lot more precise as you become more advanced in natural navigation, but to start with, we're just getting a good general clue, and we've got some handrails and other things to help us. The final helping hand is gradient. Now, I've deliberately picked a point, a triangulation pillar on top of a hill, because that's another good general clue when you're starting out. I know that from my start point to my finish point, I should be going broadly uphill all the way. If I suddenly find that I've walked downhill for 5 minutes, something's probably gone wrong. And when you're starting out, those broad helping hands are really, really, really worthwhile. Okay, I've got all the pieces I need: a clear start point, a finish point, a handrail. I've assessed the first really good clue to get me going. I'm going to set off. I've only taken a few paces. As early as possible, we want to get a sense of what the wind and clouds are doing. And I'll be honest, right now it's quite challenging. That's often the case. I'm not high up, I've started low down, so that's part of the challenge. I'm getting the odd breeze and I'm just trying to take those into account. I felt a few coming from the east, quite a few more coming from the southeast, so that is better than nothing. I haven't felt any other breezes from any other quarter. Low down in amongst the trees, we get the wind whirling in eddies and doing all sorts of strange things. So, I just got a slightly stronger one on the face there from the southeast. So I'm just going to hold on to that. It's not going to be my main compass, but it's just helping me build that picture. As I look to the clouds, sometimes you can get really lucky and find there's a very steady stream of low cumulus clouds scudding over your head, and they can really help you. What I've got here is much higher cirrus cloud. It appears to move very slowly, but it's actually moving quite quickly. It's just a long way away. And I'm just making a note that as I look across the tree branches there, I'm just watching it move from south to north. So we treat those entirely separately. I'm picking up a bit of a southeasterly trend from the wind, and the high clouds are moving from south to north. If I run out of other techniques, those are going to help me get going again. I'm not going to pace count on this micro expedition. Lots of times that is the right thing to do, but when you're starting out, don't do it unless you feel you need to do it. That's part of the reason we have a handrail. It means we can relax more, we can focus on direction, which when you're starting out is the fun bit, if I'm honest. But we've got direction from the sun. We now need to add a few more pieces, and it's always a good idea to take what the trees are offering. I've got a fairly mighty specimen of a beech tree here, and it's not growing symmetrically. Most of it is growing out in one direction, and there is a curve towards the horizontal. So the sun has told me which way is which. I've got my bearings, but the tree is adding a layer to that. I'm not looking at the tree because I need to. Natural navigation isn't about necessity, it's about understanding and awareness. And I've now got another layer. So I'm going to carry on heading south up the hill. I've gained a little bit more height now, not very much, but already things are starting to change. I've got some conifers here, and I haven't seen an awful lot of them in the first few minutes of the expedition, and that may be related to height. But there's another clue. There's a very straight line in these conifers. Nature doesn't do straight lines very often, so that's suggesting to me that somebody's probably planted these. It's a sign of human activity nearby. I'm trying to keep my senses really tuned. I felt quite a good breeze from the southeast again, and I'm banking that, trying to stay tuned into that. And as part of keeping the senses alive, there are lots and lots of little things we can do. We can remember to touch things and to sniff things. So this tree looks a little bit like a few other trees, and one of the techniques for identifying it is just taking some of the fronds and giving them a scrunch and a sniff, and a really good sort of citrusy, pineapple-y smell, telling me this is a western red cedar. These would not grow naturally here, so it confirms the shape I've seen. I've noticed the shape, the smell's telling me the species. It's a species that wouldn't just pop up naturally here, so it's telling me I'm near forestry activity. Again, I've only walked for about a minute, and the clues and signs are starting to really shine out of the landscape. So far in the course, I've tried to keep everything to an individual lesson, each individual sign, so that it's easier to take on board. But of course, when we're out in nature, it doesn't structure things that way. But that is part of the fun and the experience. We find that suddenly 3 or 4 clues come out of nowhere and start to fit together. So by my feet, I'm seeing bits of chalk and flint. We're on chalk soil. I would expect it to be mostly dry, but then that's not fitting perfectly with the fungus here, King Alfred's cakes, these burnt cakes, telling me that I've got an ash tree, suggesting that there's quite a lot of moisture in the soil. I'm also seeing on the ground here, Dog's Mercury, a shade-tolerant plant, and that's fitting with my general sense of direction. I'm on the north side of the hill, so I probably wouldn't expect to see this exact pattern on the other side of the hill. I'm also seeing a yew tree. That fits with the chalk. Yew trees and chalk, very good partnership. And as I look up this ash, I'm noticing a pattern in some fungi. And what I'd really encourage you to do is don't worry too much about names of fungi, lichens, or any organisms, to be honest. But when you start to see patterns of your own, and they are very, very slightly different all over the world, just make a mental note. I saw that shape of fungus on that side of the tree. And then if you do that 3 or 4 times, you might start to notice a pattern. That one only appears on the windward side or only on the north side. Don't worry about the names. Spot the patterns, start to see how the pieces fit together, and then you'll get a map and a compass. I've just noticed these trunks, which will have come down in a storm most likely, and it's another reason to pause and just bring that into the jigsaw of clues. I know from the sun that south is this way, and these have come down not perfectly from the southwest, but it makes sense. It fits the picture I've built of direction. I'm going to set off now, and something I've been doing from the beginning and is a really helpful tip is once you've found direction, don't set off immediately without picking a point in the distance. I've been doing that all along, but I just want to sort of emphasize how much time and trouble it will save you. Whatever you use to find direction, sun, wind, weather, plants, animals, buildings, it doesn't matter what you use, the technique is the same. pick something that is unmistakable in the middle distance to walk towards. Sometimes if you're in dense forest, it might only be, 12 feet in front of you. Sometimes if you're very lucky, it might be 5 kilometers ahead of you. But the principle is the same. If we set off without picking something in the distance, in theory, we have to check the compass every 2 or 3 paces. But if we pick something we can walk towards, it allows us a bit more freedom. We don't have to check the compass every step. We can just walk towards our short-term goal. So I've seen another storm-felled tree in the distance up there in the direction I want to go. I'm going to head for that now. The senses told me about a minute back there that everything was changing. There were subtle shifts in light levels, but the sounds changed as well. The insects, slightly different hum in the air. The birds sounded ever so slightly different, and I picked up a different scent. The sunlight has broken through into a clearing. The foresters have cleared this area. We've got different tree species, and the light is breaking through. It's warming up the ground. I'm even using the sense of touch here. I can feel the odd warm waft coming up from the ground, which deep in the yews there, even on a hot summer's day, it's much, much cooler. You don't get that feeling off the ground. So the senses are telling me something's changed. It's a clearing. I should expect pretty much all the species to change now, and the clues will as well. What I've been doing throughout this very small expedition is keeping an eye on the wind trends. So we can actually see the grasses moving at the moment. There's a little bit of a battle going on. As we get higher up, we're being exposed to new breezes. So I felt a southeasterly most of the way up the hill, but as we get nearer the top, there's no land between us and some of the other breezes. So what we're noticing here is a gentle trend for the first time from the southwest here. So those southeasterly breezes are just coming through. You can just see a little gust there, but the longer term trend is still governing the shape of these because it's a little bit nearer the hill, and we're getting a few more breezes from that side. So it's not the clearest clue, but that's quite often the way. I'm just trying to tune into it. It's part of the picture. Little gusts from the southeast today, but there's been more wind from the southwest in the past 2 days. There's a young beech tree here that is trying to offer me lots and lots of clues, and I want to share them with you. We've got the roots visible above the ground, and the longest one, it's quite a subtle effect, but it is definitely the longest, biggest one, is out in this direction. And that is what I was hoping, because the sun is telling me that southwest is out that way. I'm noticing some really quite bright white lichens on this side of the tree, and absolutely, well, I say absolutely none, maybe 1 or 2 tiny ones on this side, so a real asymmetry there. Moss, so many people would think the moss is the thing that's trying to give us the clue. It's below knee height all around the base. We ignore that. On this side, there is a patch of moss that's tempting to use, but actually the bark is peeling away. It's giving a rough, coarse texture. That's what's holding onto the water, and that's what's making the moss grow there. So there isn't a very helpful moss clue on this whole tree, but there is a useful lichen one and a useful root one. I've just picked a leaf from both sides of this beech tree. Not a massive colour difference. This is the leaf from the north side, the shade leaf. It does feel quite a bit thinner than the sun leaf here on the south side. I've just felt the familiar scratch of brambles against my legs, and I haven't felt that since we set off. And this is a really exciting sign. Brambles like slightly higher light levels than we find in the heart of the woods, and one of the things that brings light into a woodland is a path, and the path is our handrail. So we get a lot of brambles either side of paths, and I'm hoping this is a sign that we're going to find the handrail not too far out there. I've found the handrail. It's always an exciting moment in any expedition. It doesn't matter if it's a half an hour or half a month. And I had a plan. Head south until I hit the handrail and then turn left, and I should be able to find the triangulation pillar. It was actually quite hard breaking out of the woods because there's a bramble bank there in my way, but I used an animal trail to make it easier. There's a little deer trail through there, and I just followed the path of the deer. We found it, the trig point, our goal, and we did it by following simple steps and using the techniques we've learnt along the way. Congratulations on completing the course. We've looked at clues and signs in the land using plants and animals, the weather, all of the things that we experience outdoors, and these will add a layer to your experience. Remember, keep the senses tuned. You are now a natural navigator. And there aren't many people who can say that. You have joined a small and select group. Thanks so much for joining me on the Beginner's Guide to Natural Navigation. I hope you enjoyed the course and learned plenty of new techniques, clues and signs. Bring them into your own journeys, small or large. And remember, we do natural navigation not because it's necessary, but because it's fascinating. It will add a layer to every moment outdoors. Enjoy.